and welcome to the Rugby Sevens Rollercoaster. We're here to take you on the ups, the downs, the twists, the turns, and the excitement that is Premier Rugby Sevens, the sports league taking over the US with some of the best athletes our sport had to offer. I'm Dallen, Stanford, former USA Sevens player and current World Rugby commentator.
And I'm MacDowell, former Canadian Sevens player and current international coach. Together, we'll bring you the latest PR Sevens news.
Welcome to your new home for Sevens Rugby. We're thrilled to be back for episode 2 of the Rugby Sevens Rollercoaster. We so appreciate the amazing support from the rugby community in North America and the global community for the sport we love so much. So thank you, listeners and viewers. What a treat it was to have Nia Tapper and Perry Baker on episode 1. I was fortunate enough to spend some time with them at the recent Hong Kong Sevens as they led the men's and women's teams at that historic tournament. The first time the World Sevens Series had a combined event in Hong Kong at the most colorful Sevens stadium on the planet. And Robs, I'll tell you what, Perry was so fun as well. During one of his interviews in the World Feed, he threw out Rugby Sevens Rollercoaster. We need to find the footage somehow. We know it's out there, but him and I are brilliant ambassadors for our game.
Yeah, they're both class on the first episode and sharing their journeys on the World Series, their stories as Americans have come through to the world stage, and now as PR Sevens champions.
Okay, let's catch you up on where we are in the current World Sevens Series. We saw the Women's Series with epic cup final in Hong Kong, won by the Blackfern Sevens of New Zealand. They beat an excellent Aussie Sevens side. Great Britain won bronze in a surprise finish. Canada finished 6th and the USA 7th. But the big news there on the women's side of things is that 3 teams qualified for the Olympic Games. It's New Zealand, Australia, and the USA will be in Paris 2024, so far, of course, with France the host. On the men's side, well, they played back-to-back events in Hong Kong and Singapore. New Zealand won both. They defeated an excellent Fiji team at the iconic Hong Kong Sevens, then took a Los Pumas Sevens from Argentina a week later. New Zealand had not qualified for the Olympic Games. USA had a thriller in Hong Kong, just losing out in extra time in the quarterfinals. Canada finished near the bottom there, and that's how things sit currently on the World Series.
And for our Canadians, they'll be battling out this August at the Rugby Americas North Olympic qualifiers in Langford up here in Canada, as well as all the other regional sides in the Caribbean and Mexico.
Yeah, it's going to be as tight as a facelift there. Okay, so what's the latest in the Premier Rugby Sevens news? Well, 2 massive things hit the stage the last month. The 5 tournaments that we're going to see coming up this year will be broadcast either on CBS Sports Network or FS1. That's massive for the growth of the game, shown to new audiences in the US and beyond. And then the other big news, the PR Sevens Championship Final for 2023 will be held in the nation's capital on August 6th. Audi Field in Washington, D.C. will welcome you to the showdown of epic precautions. Superb news, Robs. Tickets, of course, pr7s.com. But those are 2 big announcements coming out of the home base.
Yeah, I can't wait to come back to Washington, D.C., Dallen. That was my number 1 stop last year, one of the coolest, iconic cities in America, and obviously that stadium was class. We're wrapping up ID camps across Canada here, looking for the next Nia Tapper and Perry Baker, these crossover stars. Been lots of talent over the last month as well. I was in Montreal early in April, then I was in Victoria here. We had over 100 stars try out. Last year, I think we had 30 or 40. So the awareness, the PR Sevens is coming. And then I'm back off to the prairies on Thursday here to look for talent. So we got our final ID camp of 2023 in Edmonton, Alberta. And then wrapping up this weekend is the draft. So this is our 3rd stage of the draft. So we'll be locking up our 15th and 16th picks. And I know the league will be announcing those stars in the coming weeks. And I know for our athletes that have been drafted already, they're chomping at the bit to share with their family and friends. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm just checking my phone. I didn't get no messages have come through about, okay, well, that's fine. Anyway, we have 3 brilliant guests on episode 2. That's right, not 2, 3 guests. We have PR Sevens founder and CEO Owen Scannell, who comes in and gives us a great update of how things got started, where we're going, and what's coming up, which is brilliant. And then 2 excellent guests after that. All Black Sevens flyer Brady Rush, fresh from winning the Hong Kong Sevens and Singapore Sevens, is with us, plus Olympian and former USA Sevens captain Abby Gustaitis. Well, it's action-packed. We can't wait for you to enjoy episode 2 of the Rugby Sevens Rollercoaster. A huge honor. We have founder and CEO of PR7, sleek sensation Owen Scannell, joining us for a quick chat. Owen, firstly, there's a rumor that's going around that you taught Olympian Madison Hughes everything he knows about the game when you played together. Is that true?
You know, I think that's not only true. I think I have the distinguished honor of having assisted on Madison's first collegiate try. Granted, I don't think the pass I gave to him went to hand, but I think he saw, everything from my hip mobility and natural athleticism and said, that's the guy I really want to imitate and learn a lot from. So no, I think I taught Madison next to nothing, but I did have the very distinct honor of playing with him and being a friend of his. So.
Well, exactly. He talks so highly of you. And of course, it's really cool that you are teaming up these days in the business world too, which is brilliant. And getting Madison to play and commentate, I think it's so great, So good combo there. So let's get right into it, my friend. Tell us about the idea. How did it come about? How did the Premier Sevens come to fruition?
Yeah, I mean, I think, the quick backstory on this competition, right? I think looking around at rugby in the United States and kind of seeing that there was this really tremendous sport that really it had impacted so many people. It impacted myself, in my college days, and it was such a great kind of formative experience. One of the things I looked around at was, how do you get as many Americans as excited and impacted by rugby without ever having really to pick up a ball? I think looking at the success of sevens, of how rugby sevens has been able to proliferate and grow in the United States, from things like the CRC and other competitions. Really, I thought there was a really cool moment in time to see if there was a potential around creating a professional sevens competition. And so that was kind of the genesis of PR Sevens. Really, the question just came down to packaging, right? How do you make a pro sevens competition work, right? It doesn't really fit the traditional city-based format, or you can't play home and away for something where games are only 14 minutes long. And really kind of looked around at the sports landscape and kind of saw that there was the opportunity to do a traveling circuit type of model, similar to what they do on the international stage, but replicate it with teams from our competition. So pushing the ball forward, exploring, building out the models. This is probably stuff that's a little too boring for the podcast here, but that was kind of the genesis of the concept and how everything, and eventually kind of bring on Mike Tolkien, bring on the team that we assembled, eventually kind of started chipping away at that wall of the impossibilities, and eventually got our 2021 inaugural championship in Memphis organized, which was fantastically successful in everything that we were hoping for. Yeah, it's been really a exciting journey, and especially going into 2022 and where we're kind of building from here. With the World Cups coming, with the Olympics coming in 28, I mean, it's such an absolutely exciting time for the sport in the US.
Well, and I want to say just a quick comment. Robin and myself have been obsessed with sevens because we're smaller body shaped, and people call us slippery eels here and there. The sevens game captures the imagination of the whole world, and we know that when rugby is seen in America and they see sevens, people get up and be like, "What is that sport? I want to play it. I want to get involved." But it's hard for them to see it. It's 2 a.m, right, when it's played into the Dubai Sevens and stuff like that. So the fact that you took the lead and was the creator of this wonderful league, we're obsessed with it. We love what you're doing, and we know it's going to be around for a long time.
Yeah, and I think you hit on a great point there, Don, which is it's the idea of creating sevens. I think as a format for rugby is such a great first encounter for people with the sport. Right, it's for Americans in particular, right? It's a possession-based game. I mean, when you think about American football and the parallels to it, sevens just closely resembles the strategy, the tactics. Hey, I want the ball and I want to score type of mentality that every football fan is used to seeing, right? What I really loved about the idea of creating a U.S.-based, let me pause there, North American-based for Robin circuit is really creating a product, something that people can enjoy in the way that in which they're used to enjoying it, right? To make something that is an American and Canadian as possible, right? To kind of lower the barrier entries to get those new fans into the sport and excited about what we're doing.
And for you, Owen, how do you feel the Premier Sevens will help capture the next generation of sports fans into rugby sevens?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's exactly that, right? We're focused on the next generation of American and Canadian fans, right? We want to kind of bring those people into the sport with the things that they're used to seeing, right? So, we are focused on American markets. We're focused on playing in the time zones where people can capture or at least get interested in our games. Distribution of our content is super important, right? We want people to be able to discover rugby. Huge announcement for us is our partnerships with CBS Sports Network and FS1 for putting rugby sevens on linear cable for 5 weekends throughout the summer. Right? I mean, just a massive amount of people will be able to see the sport for the first time. And really, I think what the kind of onus for us going into this year, one of the big steps that we wanted to make was really to hone and refine the product, on the field. When I say product, I mean like what the competition is all about, really to appeal to, those fans. So step one obviously was taking our team names, growing our competition, and then regionalizing the teams, right? We want everybody to come into the game with their favorite PR7s franchise, with kind of the men's and women's teams that make up that franchise. We want to have host markets, right? With this year, I think it'll be really cool when you go to Q2 Stadium in June, and the Texas team is the host team, right? They'll get the pyrotechnics, they'll get the music. All the atmosphere is going to be built around having that team be the home team, which is what people love. They love, the tribalism and passion of rooting for their team against their rivals. So we're trying to, create that element. Beyond that, right, every sports fans and American sports fans love brackets, right? They love single elimination, they love stakes, right? So introducing a playoff competition where teams have to qualify in order to make the championship in DC is such a huge step for the way this format is supposed to work. Right? Every game now has tremendous implications in terms of where teams finish and how players respond to the adversity that they come across. More and more as we kind of grow and build this platform out, we're trying to consistently capture the imaginations of American sports fans, right? Giving them an opportunity to connect to the sport in ways that they really may have never, been able to kind of understand or see rugby before. We're really excited to see how the summer.
Well, I'll tell you, as a coach in the league, it's definitely raised the stakes for us. I don't know if you know that, but it's definitely raised the stakes for us. And I've instructed our 14 women that have been drafted so far that I'm not sleeping until the Sunday after we win in Washington. So that's what I'm throwing down for them. But obviously we're focused on the first tournament, but definitely ups the stakes for us. And I know our players are super focused on fighting because we want to be in Washington, D.C. again, competing for that top spot. So it's not just working for the fans. You've got the staff and the athletes chomping at the bit. So that's what we want. A high standard of rugby out there for fans and athletes. For you so far, we got 2 seasons under your belt. What are you most proud of going into the 3rd season in 2023?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we're doing something that is pretty, unique in professional sports, kind of what we've built out so far. I mean, I think obviously immensely proud of our team that's been able to work through a whole host of challenges that never see the light of day, but kind of persevere through those. But also in doing something I think that is pretty differentiated. We say all the time, we're a platform company for our athletes, right? It's we are kind of giving people an opportunity to showcase their skills, to kind of come from the grassroots of American rugby into our competition with the hopes of eventually making it into a international side or into an Olympic team. And so I think the fact that we're able to do that in the men's and the women's game, do it in a way where we've created total equity and parity between our female and male athletes. It's something that I think everybody in our company is extremely proud of, and something that is kind of core to what we look to do.
Well, for Dallen and I, we've obviously been involved in the World Series and a lot of different professional sports globally and domestically, as well as national teams. And the PR7 is by far the most organized and refreshing group I've ever been a part of. And I mean that wholeheartedly, from player management, staff management, travel, like to understand for the fans out there. The league owns all the teams, which means they run all the teams. So 16 different teams booking flights with 16, different, like hundreds of athletes, hundreds of staff into different competitions. But what I really say to players that are new to the league is like, you're looked after. There's no parity between the haves and the have-nots. Everybody has, and it's down the line. And being involved with Canada, USA, Fiji, Trinidad, Mexico, it's like different teams at the World Series. Like they're playing on the same field, but some of them have kit, some of them don't. Some of them have new balls, some have old balls. Some of them are working a job before they get on a plane. And the cool thing about the league is we have the full league support the second we get on the ground and behind the scenes. And that way, the athletes and the staff, we get to focus on what we love best, which is the sport, and obviously for the fans. So, and I guess it just goes down to the leadership and definitely the team you've assembled. You've assembled, obviously, Snacks, the logistics legend, Richie Walker, Mike Tolkien, and a brilliant team that's building around and behind the scenes. But yeah, it's been class, and that's probably why the product's so great. So thank you from the staff side.
No, it's good. I'm glad you read the script there really well. Make sure you say only positive things on the PR7's podcast. That's what we how we got to structure things. But no, I appreciate it. That's
well. Listen, it's not always positive, but let's just say the PR7 is, like I said, refreshing, and in modern day sports, it's so far so good. So thank you.
Awesome. So cool.
Oh, and last one for you before we let you go. It's such a blockbuster summer coming up. Can you tee up what can the fans expect? What's coming down the pike?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously this is our biggest summer yet. We'll have 5 stops around the country with 4 weeks of conference play and a championship. I think when we think about what PR7s is all about, right? There are kind of 3 kind of core components that a fan can expect, right? One is competition, right? We lead with competition. You'll see some of the best sevens players from the US and Canada and around the world competing head to head in maybe the most exciting format that sevens has ever experienced, right? It's all knockout. Every match matters, and there's a trip to the championship on the line. On top of that, the stories of our athletes, kind of where they've come from, it's going to be such an important part of what we tell this summer. And so the competition is really going to be, I think, top notch this year. Additionally to that, one of the core elements we want to really dive in, and part of our regionalization efforts here has been the community aspect. We've hosted over 12 talent ID sessions across the US and Canada, where we've identified a number of athletes to be part of PR7s this summer. Connecting to the communities, and connecting to the grassroots of the game, taking that portion of what makes rugby so special in this country, and educating the fan base around the sport is going to be a big part of our efforts, both in our match day presentation, in our broadcasts, and in our social and digital content. And the last piece, right, I think this goes, for rugby fans, this goes without saying, or people who've ever been to a sevens tournament, but it's going to be an immensely fun summer, right? We have live music that we're about to announce in the next couple weeks that'll be at all the stops. We're going to have festival partners. The adjacent programming and fun element to rugby sevens, that kind of festival atmosphere, it's core to the sport, right? And I think it's that unique experience that people just absolutely, that if they know about it, they love, and if they don't know, they're going to fall in love with. So really kind of boils down to those 3 elements: just the competition, the community, and the fun that we're so excited about for this upcoming year. And it's going to be a really, really special time. So we're looking forward to having both of you out this summer, in different capacities, obviously, but I'm also really, excited to have fans in the seats, and, get to experience what we're all about.
Oh, and it's amazing. We're so thrilled to be on the journey with you. And of course, we know the future is sevens. I just got a text from Madison Hughes. He said he needs a training partner. So we're going to let you go hit the field, see if you can show him a thing or two, buddy. And then we'll see you at the 5 stops coming up.
I pulled a hamstring just now. I'm going to be unavailable for that. So no,
you can't use my excuse. Owen, thanks for joining us, you sleek sensation.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
It's superb to welcome All Black Sevens sensation Brady Rush, more elusive than the Loch Ness Monster. Kia ora, Brady. Thanks for joining us, the Rugby Sevens Rollercoaster.
Hey, boys. Thanks for having me on.
Well, listen, pal, firstly, I want to say we want to wish you a belated happy birthday. Although in the US and North America, it's still your birthday because of the time zones.
Yeah, no, thank you. Appreciate it. Feeling old, so yeah.
We're 24 years young, you hot stepper. Listen, we know that, a couple of birthday presents which were on the card. You've already qualified for the Olympic Games in Paris. Winning the series, that'll be New Zealand's 14th title coming up. Still 2 events to go. Give us some insight. It's so tough to be competitive at such a top level. How does your team, the NZ Sevens, remain that consistent over this series today?
Firstly, thank you for that. One of our goals this year was to qualify for the Olympics, and to do it so early it's been pretty cool. Yeah, well, we're obviously, our next goal is to chase the World Series this year, and like you said, probably our 14th. So I think that'll be pretty special. And I think, we've got 2 tournaments left to go. They're going to be tough tournaments, but I'm hoping we can seal the deal by the end of it, which would be pretty special, just to top off our year. All the boys have been working pretty hard. But, goes to show all the hard work we're doing back home, and just like the depth of our team. We've had a few injuries this year, just all our young boys stepping up, and
Yeah, that's been impressive. It's, we could list a whole team of players that could be starting but aren't there. But your team that does represent the Southern Weekend, just so consistent, amazing.
Yeah, our older boys have set the tone for us. They're training, and we get to train against them every day. And I think it's been pretty good for us. We've always said it. We get to train against the best every day. It's always tough trainings, and then the boys just have to step up and show what they can do on the World Series, which is pretty cool.
Brady, talk to us about winning back-to-back events, and your side managed to take out the very good Fijian team in Hong Kong, an excellent Argentina side in Singapore. Can you give us a bit of insight into this last tour and what it meant to win both of those tournaments back-to-back?
Yeah, we've been talking about trying to win it back-to-back. I don't think we've done it since 2016, so that was pretty cool as well. Yeah, obviously, after our last tournament in Hong Kong, we didn't even make the quarters, so the boys were pretty hungry to get a win over there. And we happened to beat Fiji in the final. It was always going to be a tough game. I think we had a pretty hard pull to get there too. So it was pretty special to get out of there and then to go the whole way. Yeah, well, I think we haven't won it there in about 9 years or something. So it was also pretty cool in itself. And I know it was a few of our first wins over there in Hong Kong. I think there was only 2 people in our team that had won Hong Kong before, so it was pretty cool to do that. And then to win Singapore was pretty special as well. We made the final there last year after being off for a while with COVID and stuff. But Argentina was always going to be a tough game too, and they proved to show that. It was only 2 points with it by the end of the game, and just pretty happy to get it done.
Yeah, and you yourself, you had a lovely run when they overthrew or messed up their line out, and you just took it to the house in Singapore. It was great to see. I want to touch on your family because, of course, a big part, of course, the Rush name comes from back in the day with your father, Eric, being so famous in the game of sevens, a fitness guru. When you were a youngster, did you get a chance to watch him play? I know you played till pretty late in his career.
Yeah, I think he finished playing when he was about 40 or something. But he'd finished up by the time I'd been able to even know what rugby was, to be honest. I was about 2 or 3 when he finished up. But yeah, I see the odd video on the internet, and it's not too bad.
And listen, he's still super fit, is what everyone says. So does he challenge you every now and again to a little foot race or occasional fitness session?
Yeah, he usually tries to keep up with me and my brother, but he's getting on a bit. He actually called me last night. He had a bet with us when we were younger. If we'd beat one of his runs, he'd buy one of us a car. And I think we're getting pretty close, and he's getting scared, and he's trying to pull it out of this bet. So, yeah.
I love that. Okay, good. We've got to get the big man on himself. We'll get him on the next pod.
Yeah.
Well, it's one thing to beat his fitness scores, but it sounds like you got another 16, 17 years under your belt before you beat that record.
Yeah. Something like that.
All right, can you take us back to your first international debut with the All Black Sevens and what it meant to have your family there with you to experience that?
It was about this time last year. It was Singapore. It was our first tournament. I debuted with 4 of the other boys: Leroy, Carter, Moses Leo, Caleb Tangatau, and Kationa Vai. All pretty respected names so far, which is pretty cool. But yeah, debuted in Singapore, and to have mum and dad there was pretty special. Yeah, I've always dreamt of playing in this team, and to be able to play with people that I watched on TV growing up is pretty special. But to do it at training every day as well is I've got to pinch myself every day, so it's pretty cool. Yeah.
There was a lovely footage of your dad and your mom in the crowd, when you were on the field making your debut as well. I'll never forget that clip. So that's cool. You got those. Because when your father played, they probably weren't filming every event. I mean, I know you started in like 88, it was black and white television, that sort of stuff,
Yeah. It's always pretty cool to see mum and dad on the screens. But like I said, it was black and white back in the day. I think he's got the old VHR set. So
yeah, exactly.
On Christmas time.
Yeah, well, don't worry, Robin's got the same thing as well, so all good, Listen, Brady, I want to say rugby, of course, has allowed you to travel the world to see a lot of cultures and meet so many great people. And then last year, you were in the United States playing the Premier Rugby Sevens. What was your time like in America? I know you've been here before playing some sevens, but you actually got a chance to stay here for a little while. What was it like?
Yeah, I've been traveling quite a bit the last year or so, and I'm pretty thankful for that and what rugby does for it. Got over to the States last year. Richie Walker and them got me over with the headliners. yeah, unreal experience to get to travel the States, see some pretty cool places, and even the people over there were pretty awesome. I've made some mates for life, actually. I got about 4 phone calls from them last night for my birthday, which was pretty cool, and thankful for that. It was an unreal experience, actually.
And talk to me about the competition side. What was the level like of play and the PR7s and overall experience for you on field?
Yeah, it's obviously pretty good. There's about 7 or 8 of the boys that are gone on to play for the US side, and about 3 or 4 of the ladies as well. So it goes to show that levels up there, and it's a good place for people to start showcasing what they got. And I played with some of the US boys, and we're good mates now. And it's always good to play against them on the series too. But the PR7s is where it all started for us all. Mates for life now. So yeah.
I love that. And that's a great thing about the sport, right? You can be teammates one week and then you go against each other next week, which is cool, So let's talk about that. You mentioned the headliners. You were part of that franchise win where the women's and the men's points were combined and you won the United Championship. What's it like when you had the women's team as well? Because you were supporting each other. I know Grace Kukatai was there, a former Blackfern, and then Abby Gustaitis, former USA Eagle, was leading the headliner side. You guys seemed like you all had a good bond together, right?
Yeah, we had a pretty good dynamic, actually. We were always with each other, like the ladies and the boys teams, whether it was playing cards during the week or catching up for dinner or something. It was a pretty cool atmosphere. But thankfully the girls carried us to winning I don't think we won a tournament. We'd come second a few times, so they carried us a little bit. Thanks, ladies. Getting to play with my mates over there, supporting Grace and stuff, which was pretty cool to have someone close to home. And we've caught up a few times since, so that's been pretty cool. And just to get to watch them do their thing, I think it's a bit of a cool thing to see the ladies' game being pushed as well, which is pretty awesome. And to have ladies like Abby out there as well, leading a few of the younger girls around, which was pretty cool.
Exactly. And I bet your phone blew up as well when people got to see you. We showed a lot of the games overseas as well. Did your friends message some of your teammates from the All Black Seven saying, hey, listen, how do I get to play in this tournament? How do I get to come to America for a bit of a holiday and play some rugby?
Yeah, a few of the boys have been messaging, and I know they're keen. I said it was always going to be a good opportunity, and they're trying to come through me now, and I don't know who to hit up.
You should take a fee. You should take a little fee. You can push Richie Walker to the side. It's now
yeah.
Well, send me all your Black Ferns because I'm sure they'd like to be loonies. I'll take them all day. Actually, we got some exciting announcements coming up in the next few weeks that will be released from New Zealand and around the world. So you kind of paved the way. So thank you for that. Just changing gears, like what advice have you received from any coach or mentor that's really helped you to get to where you are in your life right now as an athlete?
What's some advice I've been given? Was just to keep my head down and work hard, and eventually things would pay off for me. And I think I've done that a little bit. Just I was working for a bit outside of school. I was training by myself, and got the opportunity to play, and ended up taking it with both hands. And here I am today. So pretty grateful actually. And
how would you describe Coach Laidlaw's coaching philosophy, and what's it like to play for him?
He's awesome. He's a great driver of all our values. He's got a good way of connecting all the boys together. And it's quite funny actually because he's Scottish, and having all the Kiwi Islander boys under him, we don't understand him half the time. But it's pretty cool.
He is a funny dude. He really is. You're right. It is. You forget he's Scottish because he's been with the New Zealand team for so long. Okay, last question before we let you go. Any embarrassing moments you could share, or it could be an embarrassing moment for one of your teammates?
Oh, I wouldn't. I've got a few embarrassing moments, but I don't think they're fit for the podcast. I don't think they're very... there's probably a reason why Leroy Carter and Adam Chanel from the US team are good mates. They're both grubs.
Oh, brilliant. Well, listen, buddy, it's been so lucky to chat to you. Awesome to see you do your thing on the World Series. We appreciate you spending time with us on the Rugby Sevens Rollercoaster. We want to wish you, of course, all the best for the next 2 stops, France and England. And then I know your PR Sevens teammates wishing you well and to carve it up and finish off for that series win as well.
Nah, thanks for having me on, fellas. I'll see you later on.
It's fantastic to have former USA Sevens captain, Olympian, and talented opera singer Abby Gustaitis join us on the Rugby Sevens Rollercoaster. That's a new one for you, Abby.
Really caught me off guard there with that introduction.
Well, listen, I figured I made just a play because you were part of the headliners in the PR Sevens. So that's kind of when I got it there. Well, listen, let's talk about your post-professional career. Obviously, I got a chance to interview with my background here at the Hong Kong Sevens recently. You were one of the brilliant HSBC ambassadors. Give us a background into, how you got into these brilliant gigs and how you got to smoosh with the wealthy and the rich and famous.
I think they're really scraping the bottom of the barrel at this stage. They're like, literally, they must only have women's size medium red polos left, and there's no one else available. And they're just like, I guess we'll give it to that lady. I don't know. But it's been an unreal journey, actually. I had no idea what the post-career life would take me. Little did I know that I would still be traveling on the circuit as much as ever, if not more than ever, going to most of the men's tournaments as well, and just kind of figuring out what I like. Obviously, rugby, I love this sport. I'm super passionate about it, growing it in America and continuing to get light on the women's game. And whether that's through broadcasting, I've got to commentate with you a bit on a few stops, headed to Toulouse in a couple of weeks to round out the women's series, and HSBC Ambassador alongside some absolute legends. Nolly, Alicia Quirk for the first time in Hong Kong was amazing. And our American crew, Todd Clever, and then, we brought in the Aussie Adam Ashley Cooper, which was an absolute blast, regardless of the hailstorms, which you also experienced. But honestly, just grateful to be surrounded by amazing people and still involved in this incredible sport. It's really all you could ask.
Well, it's so great. Again, you're such a great ambassador. In that interview that we did, a lot of people commented around the world how it is so great to see your familiar face still there, involved, and encouraging the young girls to take part in the sport, which is awesome. And let's touch on the commentary, because I had such a great time commentating with you. You bring such wonderful insight. You're so well spoken. Is it completely surreal to be commentating on the game that you were just playing recently, or what's it like for you?
Very surreal. I love still getting that little bit of adrenaline, that sort of like spike of pressure. Like, do not mess up, or don't say a curse word, please. I don't think that would go over well. Struve would be very disappointed, but I might not get the call back. It's kind of that double-edged sword of commentating the girls, because you kind of got to be real and call them out when you need to, but at the same time, they're your teammates and your friends, and you just want to praise them. So it's funny, they'll text me after like, oh, you had to say that? I'm like, you did miss the tackle though, so I'm just the people saw it. I'm just the voice, really. Someone shooting the messenger. But it's been really fun getting to see the game from this side and to learn from you and a bunch of the incredible team. The whole broadcast crew is just so talented, and every time I'm out there, I just pick up something new, and everyone sort of has their own style. I'm no sleek sensation caller like you, Dallen, but I can read the game and sort of just speak to that. That's kind of where I just stay in that lane.
And you do such a great job, I'll say. That's the great thing, is like everybody has their style, they're unique, and their personality. And as an analyst, you bring exactly what needs to come to the game. And it is funny talking about your teammates or former players and current friends that are calling you out. But hey, the best thing is that you're just calling it as you see it, and it's up to them to do what they need to do.
Exactly. I'm like, it's no hard feelings. It is what it is. It played out. And when you watch it back, you're going to think the same thing. Like, should have had that tackle, right? It's like, I just said it.
Thank goodness when I played a couple of years ago that the commentators were so generous, because like if it was my home club, they would have fired up a chainsaw for some of the things I did out there, but they were so sweet and nice. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get roasted. But the World Series is pretty generous compared to a lot of sports and politically correct. Let's wind it back, Abby. When did you first discover rugby? Where? And can you talk us through your first memory in a game? And also, did your parents approve of you joining rugby?
That's a very great follow-up question. I went to University of Maryland. I played basketball my whole life, and I kind of thought that was the trajectory, right? Like in my 5th grade yearbooks, like I'm going to play in the WNBA. Like, oh, just had some idols and just watched basketball, studied it, played it before school, after school, and it was everything. And then just sort of as you progress through high school, it's like, okay, actually, I'm probably not going to play in the WNBA. I'm sure I realized before high school, but unless I was super naive. So went to University of Maryland, thought I was going to go to medical school. One of my friends in our dorm was like, hey, I'm going to go to rugby. And I was like, I don't even know what that is, right? It's such a classic American story. And then we had this big first look fair where all the clubs had their little tables out at the mall, and like a beautiful day in the fall. And I'm walking by and some girl's like, hey, you're big, you should play rugby. And I was like, I don't know if I should be offended by that or not, but I'm just going to embrace it. 6 foot tall. I'm pretty solid, 165 pounds, stomping around Maryland. So took the flyer, went to practice, and honestly, I never looked back. It's been an amazing journey. There's been so many ups, so many downs, but collegiate rugby is, as many people know, just a different level. And the social side, the team, the camaraderie. And to answer your follow-up question, my father was all in, loved it. He was like, I'm coming to watch every game. He's like, I watched you beat up on your brothers for the last 15 years. I'm glad you're putting that to use now. And my mother, it took her a while to catch on. She really wanted me to go to med school, let's be honest. But later down the road, she was very proud, is still very proud.
Oh, that's absolutely a classic story, as you said, a typical American story, and well worked. Well, let's fast forward then. Okay, so then you captain the US Eagles in the Sevens World Series. You go to the 2020 Olympic Games. Let's go through your emotions. You take the field for the very first time representing Team USA in Tokyo. What were you thinking?
Just what a milestone. And you get there, you achieved it. It's like all the hard work is done. Like, how do I just soak this up? It was a bizarre time, right, throughout the pandemic, and so many the postponements. We thought it was going to get canceled, and it was just like, how do I embrace this? How do I just live in this moment? And shaking the captain's hand, running out onto that field, and it's just a stunning pitch. And just the nerves were there, but it was just sort of this like elation of like, I did this, like I got here, and there were so many people that helped me along the way. So many coaches, my parents, my brothers, my family and friends, teammates, and so many women who weren't part of that 12 or 13 that really helped us get to where we were. And you were just playing for something so much bigger than yourself. As proud as I was of myself for getting to step out on the field, it was so much bigger than that. And just to get so many more eyes on rugby, that was a big moment. And I had someone come up to me. I saw Robin in Tropical Sevens, and I had a girl come up to me and say, hey, I started playing rugby because I watched the Tokyo Olympics. And it's like in those little moments, you're just like, it's all so worth it. Like every heartache, every little injury, and this sport, it's so much bigger than you. It's so much bigger than your team, and it really can bring the world together. And that's something that rugby really separates rugby from many other sports.
And just looking at the Olympics, I mean, it's still so fresh for you and fresh for us as Sevens fans and Sevens athletes and people involved with the game. But, 100 years down the road, you're really pioneers. And also Premier Sevens is kind of groundbreaking. It might be the NFL in 80 years or 60 years and being involved. And everybody will be talking about the Loonies when they won the first championship. Not the second year. It's interesting. Definitely the third year. But just looking at the Olympic Games as a whole, like I talk about it a lot. I've been fortunate enough to have been a part of 5 multi-sport events, the Latin Olympics twice, Commonwealth Games as an athlete, and just just the whole piece as a coaching aspect or an athlete. Like you arrive, you work your whole life to arrive there, but it's basically like a carnival, distraction, all different shapes and sizes. Could you give us some insight on what athletes that did you get a chance to meet at the games and who impressed you at the Olympics?
Sue Bird. It was with the whole basketball team, like the whole women's crew, the men's. What was so wild was during the opening ceremonies, it was like KD was there, and he's like 18 feet tall, and you're just like, what? Like, he's 2 heads above everyone else, and like I'm pretty tall, and I'm just like, oh man. The whole Team USA starts singing happy birthday to Kevin Durant, and then and it's not his birthday, and so then he just starts yelling back, and all the basketball guys are just getting all rowdy, and it was just such a weird moment of like, this is someone who comes from such a different background of sport. And then like the women's team, they were just like, they're just cool. Like they're cool people and like yet very down to earth. And then obviously they absolutely smash it on the court. And so seeing all of the basketball players, and I think because I played basketball too, so that was like just a cool moment for me. And let alone following up, like gymnastics, they are always all so impressive. Like what athletes to just perform at that level and like the amazing things their bodies can do. And I'm just in awe of them. And I obviously surpassed that height limit a long time ago to be able to compete in gymnastics, let alone I can't even like do a tumble roll or whatever they're called. So I was out. But I think just bringing all of those incredible people representing so many different types of people from all over the country, and just like that unifying factor of Team USA, like really giving someone and everyone like something to rally behind. And that's something I think America is so good at, right? Like we just want to be the best, and we can all relate to that. And the Olympics are just the perfect opportunity for it.
And so great, as you said, as you being a basketball fanatic, got to meet those, the current players there. That's very, very cool. Let's get back onto the PR Sevens wagon. Robbins Looney is obviously bombed out of the tournament, so we're not going to talk about them. We're going to talk about the headliners, right? You played with them, and you guys won the United Championship. You also won the women's title. The United Championship, of course, combining points with the men's side. Your men's side, we had Brady Rush on as well for this episode. He said your side, and you in particular, carried the team to obviously win that championship. So tell us overall, what was your experience like? How much fun did you have on that tour?
He is definitely right. The women carried that. So you're welcome, Brady. Maybe we taught you something in America that you didn't know about rugby, because you're playing better than ever now, and your team's doing just fine, it seems like.
That's true.
Right? PR Sevens, so great. I mean, we spoke about it earlier, just like the women's game, and it's just one of the rarest leagues that offers the equality across the board. That's something I love about rugby in general. Same size ball, same size pitch, rules. It's just that equity is unreal, and it's really hard to come by in sport. So I truly value that in this organization and what they're trying to do for sport, and rugby specifically. But the headliners, it was so fun. I was supposed to be in the booth chatting up a storm, calling people out for missing tackles. And then like a week before the first tournament, it was like, oh, wait, are you available to play actually? And I was like, I think so. Yes. I did a little, I think I was a free agent at some point, maybe we'll call it that. And I went to the headliners, and I actually played in all 3 tournaments, and it was so refreshing. Like the competition was there, but also so was like the laid back environment, the team atmosphere. It was all just good vibes, and there were no egos. Everyone was just there to play rugby and have fun and get to know one another, right? We had a couple girls from New Zealand on our team, and they brought great energy, skills, and just different point of view, which is really great to have. And the team just gelled really well. We had a few like mixes in and out, which is really cool with the sport too, because you can have like your core group of people, and then just to have a couple girls slot in and still be seamless and still perform and play really high level rugby. It was a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to another season here. I don't know.
I was going to say yes. Okay, so what do we? I was hoping you were going to commentate with us. Okay, you playing, which is still that's the best. I'll say playing is number one, commentating is number two, coaching is probably number three, Robin. So
sorry,
okay, so you're playing in 2023. We've got to keep roasting him.
Yeah. We'll see what shakes out. I think I will definitely be in the booth for a few events, and then we're sort of seeing how it goes now that it's been a few months since I've tackled someone. I have been playing a little touch rugby, which I will say is very enjoyable, but definitely not the same, and it's certainly not sevens, which the last thing you want to do is step out onto the field. And
I saw a couple of hits, Hong Kong sevens, the HSBC Ambassador tent. But again, that players might not have been carrying well there. But
after hours, no one knows what happens there. The red polo gang is just something else, a different level of endurance.
Yeah, true.
Well, Lockie's texting me right now. We're part of the pod is we're announcing you've just been traded to the Loonies. So congratulations. Three teams in 3 seasons. Yeah. Congratulations.
Hey, the Iron Woman. 4 teams still, I could maybe make my way around to each, but the 8, that's a bit tough. I don't think I have that sort of stamina in me.
Our team comes with a tattoo, though.
Oh, I did hear that. Where's yours?
It's on the ankle. Yeah, Griff and I, Loonies for life. Even though she's a retriever now, it's all good.
That's true. She can get edited.
Yeah. Well, so I loved the Kiwis on your team last year because I rocked into Austin with a cowboy hat, not knowing it's more of a hipster town than a cowboy town. But by the end of the week, the girls on your team both had cowboy hats and boots, and they're still rocking them. How amazing was that?
Honestly, I'm like, Grace, put the cowboy hat down. No one in America wears those. Definitely not in San Francisco, that's for sure. Or Washington, D.C., which is where I spend most of my time between those two places. But yeah, the cowboy hats, they're living on.
Yeah, the team this year will be great. So just switching gears, what advice have you received over the years from mentors or coaches that positively impacted your career and your life?
Oh, good question. I think as far as rugby goes from coaching, just play as much rugby as you can. When I picked up a rugby ball for the first time, it was very social, but then I learned of the national team and I wanted to play in 15s World Cup, but I only played 15s. And then 2 years later, I found sevens, and then I only wanted to play sevens. And it's like, just play everything. Play 15s, play sevens, play touch. Like, it doesn't matter. You're getting a ball in your hands. You're getting the skill work. It all translates. Yes, they're different games. You can argue that all day, but the fundamentals are the same. And it's, especially in America, it's reading those pictures, getting your rugby IQ up, and the more reps, the better. And as far as rugby/life advice goes, I had a coach, and he told me to just always make time for people. And whether that's like the little 2-year-old that is at the side of the game with a pen and like a piece of paper, sign your shirt, or it's your mom calling you after a game, or it's your teammate asking you for advice, because those are the things that matter, like those relationships, those moments, how you make people feel. And that was something that really resonated with me, because as you progress, it's especially after, let's say you lost a game or you're playing in the Olympics and you lose a quarterfinal or whatever, and it's like the world is over, nothing matters, but that's also just a fleeting moment, and there are so many people that impacted you along the way. So if you can just have that little tiny positive impact on someone's day or life, then that's going to go a long way than a performance on the field.
Absolutely brilliant. Abby, quick question before we close. Who was the friend of yours that got you to play rugby? Who said, come out to that training? Do you remember her name?
Her name? No.
Okay. See, this was the team at the moment with a brilliant thank you. It's full circle, and she gets a mention from the Olympian.
Doesn't go. No. I know.
We'll edit that one out. Yeah.
To be honest, she didn't even come to practice. She was
that's epic.
She's like, yeah, I'm going. I was like, oh, perfect. I'll meet you there.
Didn't arrive.
No.
She doesn't get a mention for that reason. But Abby, I want to thank you for lighting it up on the Rugby Sevens roller coaster, for doing everything you do on the world stage. In the words of myself, you're champagne rugby.
In the words of myself. Love it. Thank you, Dallen. Thank you, Robin. It's been great as always. And I will see you both very soon, I'm sure. PR Sevens, maybe Toulouse, maybe at a Starbucks or coffee shop in Tampa, Florida. You know, the rugby world keeps us together.
Awesome, Abby. You bloody star. Thanks for listening to the Rugby Sevens roller coaster. Visit pr7s.com to buy tickets to the 5 tournaments in 2023.
Austin, Texas, June 17th.
Minneapolis, Minnesota, June 24th.
San Jose, California, July 15th.
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, July 23.
And the PR Sevens Championship on August 6th.
Connect with us on social media at PR Sevens and watch any of the previous tournaments on the Premier Rugby Sevens YouTube channel. See you next time, you sleek sensations.